Welcome to The Cloaked. We are a collective of inquiring minds seeking answers to mysteries both past and present. Join us on our journey to discover that which remains hidden. And now, on with the show.
Alright everyone, welcome to The Cloaked. Today we have a real interesting story. I'm your host, White Owl.
Hi, I'm Sai.
This is Hoffman.
Hey, it's Pandora.
And today we're going to be discussing and breaking down the story of Kimberly, which is pretty interesting. And of course, we'll be posting the video beforehand. And, again, listen to that story before this podcast because we're going to discuss some of the stuff that that occurs and that's being said, and definitely you want to pause the podcast here and then come back and play the episode.
It'll be worth it
because you're going to have questions,
lots of them,
just like we did, and hopefully we can help you along with this. So, in the story of Kimberly, and brief description of it. Basically, this girl was going into a new school, right? Would you say she was like in middle school, right?
Yeah.
I think they said 6th grade.
6th grade, yeah.
Early teens.
And this occurs in El Paso, Texas. And the individual telling the story is a teacher, right? That happens to know the student. In a manner of, I guess, like a mentor type of thing, right?
Both.
Both teacher and mentor. And so she comes back to class, and she had been missing for a while. Basically, they investigate what's happening. They go back to the house. They find some things. They find the dog that's been mutilated. And then, there's a lot of questions that comes along with this fucking story. So, I mean, there's a lot of fucking questions. I mean, there's the things where, okay, so we know facts. It takes place in El Paso, Texas. The kid is a student. Supposedly there's missing parents. They don't know where the parents are. They never say the last name of the student. Supposedly it's because
super convenient.
Yeah, which is also convenient, but from anonymity of the student, because at the time the student is underage, right? And we understand that. So, all right, whatever. There's an officer that's involved along with the story, Johnny Guerrero, right?
Mr. Guerrero.
And again, he's also still working in El Paso as an officer. And so
he survived.
Yeah, he survived this whole ordeal. The girl comes back after being missing for a while from school. She looks starved. Disheveled.
Her eyes are sunken in. She's like skinny.
And she lives, I guess her house is in Alpine, Texas?
No.
Or where is this house that they say?
Was it Ferguson?
It's outside of El Paso in Fabens.
Fabens. Okay, Fabens, Texas.
Which is a county.
Yeah. And so the description of the house that they speak of this girl Kimberly is described as 3 stories, right?
Yeah, something Victorian
style, brick.
Very narrow.
Trees as far as the setting.
Desert.
And Hoffman, you did a little research on this. What can you tell us about the setting where this takes place at?
I haven't been able to find any evidence of any 3-story houses in the Fabens area.
Or any 2-story houses for that fact.
Most of the houses out there are going to be 2-story. It's not really cost effective.
Is there an attic? Do some of these houses have an attic? Maybe that's what he meant.
Some of they do. But, I mean, the type of construction he's referring to is something that you wouldn't really see in the Midwest.
Right.
Not too often. Or the West, I should say, because it's El Paso.
A lot of places have rules on that too. Like you can only build so
certain
high.
Towns, yeah.
So
there's what do you call it?
Housing codes.
Housing codes, exactly.
Yeah.
or building codes, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, a lot of people tend to question where this took place. He also talks about the street.
Well, the school that he refers to actually does exist.
The school does exist.
Yeah, which is kind of odd.
Right.
Like, how do you pick those specific details?
Did he teach there?
Yeah, well,
He says he claims to have taught there, right?
Claims a lot of things.
And supposedly during his retelling of the story, he's in Arizona.
Now he
Right.
he moved over to Arizona
And he's
from El Paso.
recounting the story.
That's
of,
right.
Of the occurrences.
To this audience.
Yeah, which I feel like he's telling it to other students.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, yeah, and with parents.
With
Sounds
parents,
like an auditorium type
it's definitely
of
an
vibe.
auditorium type of setting. I mean,
Like at the gym or whatever.
I mean, the one of the first things you definitely pick up is that he's a really good storyteller. I mean, the first couple of minutes, you're like, okay, you're hooked to the story. It sounds good. There's already suspense right from the get-go. Right?
Yes,
I mean,
I don't know if he's told that story like many
he's
times.
probably he's
Because like
definitely
he didn't like really think about it. He just kept on
He
going. I'm like,
he
all
went
right,
straight through it. Like
it's
really-
captivating.
yes.
yeah, heck yeah, it is.
So the girl, I guess, after she comes back,
Like a week later,
yeah,
like, where you been?
they end up sending her to.
A
I guess this is a sanitarium, right?
They take it to the hospital and then they
They're
try to
having-
put IVs in her and all that, and they
Yeah.
find out. This is what he says.
Okay.
But see, I don't, whatever. So like all of a sudden, she's in the hospital. She's supposedly sick.
Right.
They put her ass in a sanitarium.
Yeah.
Just like that. I'm like, well, give me some of the details. What you find out about her that led her to be in
Is
that.
there any medical information?
He didn't know. He just kept on going.
Right. And it's something that I think is an important detail because you could say, okay, visually you said this is how she looked.
Yes.
Okay. But then you also, for some reason, knew certain other detailed information that she had gone to the hospital and then she went to the sanitarium. You could say that he knows this information because his friend, who's the officer, right?
Oh, sure.
But at the same time, you kind of want to know the information of, okay, was there anything as far as something in her blood? Was,
schizophrenia? It could be like whatever. I mean, like,
that,
do you know where
she
you...
mentally...
Well, that doesn't explain some of the stuff that happens later on.
Right.
I know. Look, we'll get there.
No,
Look, I know.
no,
We'll
There's
get there.
no explanation.
Very
That's
true.
the thing.
And so
A lot of loose ends.
What happens after she gets put into the sanitarium?
They start doing an investigation because the parents have gone missing.
Right.
So they start digging around.
Taking her on the house.
Oh, yeah. In the
You go back
yard,
to the house, yeah.
and they find bones.
Yeah, in the back.
In the back, yeah.
Human remains.
Human
Remains.
remains. Right.
2 sets, but only 1 skull.
One skull. Where's the other skull? Right?
Okay, well...
So
Like, where is it? No, sure. I mean,
they
like,
have to go to arrest the kid, right?
yeah, because they
all of us, yes.
yeah, because
all
they're
of
like,
a
okay,
sudden.
they're arresting the kid because the kid
I
was
think we're gonna have to
one-
book her for murder. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute here. Like, wait, hold your damn horses.
That fast? I mean, so
She's the suspect.
she's a
That's all it is
suspect.
at that point.
I
Yeah.
get she's
Only
a suspect,
one, bro. Like,
But like,
she's in a
did
goddamn
you
sanitarium.
research to see if the parents had an enemy in their jobs? Was there any other record?
It's El Paso, so I mean, there's drug trafficking, human trafficking.
It could be anything. You know, like what's the history of the family? Were
What's
they
the
involved?
history of the family?
Yeah,
Were
like
they
give me
involved
some
in
context of them
Any
actually
legal,
going up.
legal issues. Did they were they
Screw, we're
running
going back
away?
to Mexico.
Right?
Yeah,
I
fuck.
mean, there. I think there's just a lot.
I didn't like
there's a lot
that
of
part, yeah.
questions.
I didn't like that part.
He doesn't fill in certain gaps
Gaps.
that people would want to question in his story. If I was telling a story and it was real, I would want to fill in some of those gaps so you don't get questioned.
Later on,
Later
or like
on.
people like
No, but he said that they did check, their police record and they didn't have it.
Well, he's telling it
They
from the
did.
point of view, like,
His point of
the
view.
mentor or whatever. He's not like the detective or
He doesn't
the.
know all
But I
the
get that.
The
details.
officer that
But
was,
I think it's funny that he knows certain details
The important
and then
ones.
the important ones. And
There's a transcript of it from 2003.
it's different.
No,
The
there's
details change.
the first 10 to 15 minutes weren't recorded. So there's details that aren't in the story that we heard.
In the SoundCloud?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well,
Sure.
Damn. Oh, well, I can't do that, man.
So what is he?
It's
What's
just
he
big-
saying? Can you read some of the information?
We got police all over the place. We got helicopters up there. We'll find them. We'll find her. Man, but this is strange. So we're heading back.
Ed
And Johnny
Hermanski.
goes, hey, we're probably
Uh-huh.
have to tear that house down.
Oh, but
I
that's
go,
later on in the story. That's after she escapes from the sanitarium. I think that's
That's when
Yeah.
they found out that they...
yeah.
So nothing really important is missing.
Not yet.
Not in the
Oh,
first.
there's a diagram.
Of what?
The fireplace and where he climbs up in...
That means nothing to me. That means nothing. We don't have no actual geographical locations because he says it's in this place, but he gives you a street. That street doesn't even
exist.
fucking exist.
Well, let's.
So you start to think, okay, it would have been nice if he would have said, hey, I changed details information, so don't try to look this up because I changed the information for anonymity for the girl.
You
Know,
you
it would have
think-
been nice if he said that, but he
But he
doesn't
didn't.
say that. Nowhere does he ever state that he says that that's something that he's leaning to.
He seems overly confident about what he's saying.
Yes, he's
like
very
just.
confident. And,
I didn't like
and
that.
the delivery of the story is really well. Like, you know when somebody tells you a story of a fish they caught,
Yeah.
and every time he tells it the same manner, only one thing changes: the size of the fucking
It
fish.
gets bigger.
I have an uncle who does the same fucking thing. So
Juan.
Juan, yeah. So my uncle
Yeah,
always
Juanito.
changed. He's a very good storyteller, and he always tells the
I know
same
that guy.
stories, and they're real good every time, and they get you, and they're so good. But you always notice there's always something fucking different.
Like, didn't
And
you
it's
say
a-
it was
it's
5
a-
pounds last time?
Yeah,
10 pounds
and
this time. It's
and,
like double the size.
it's usually a small detail. It's nothing big, but you notice. You know what I mean?
Well, let's start off from the sanitarium. So, like, see, the part that we left off on was that they find the bones, right, in the
find the
backyard, and
Then they
you're
go-
not gonna like this, Johnny.
that they would have to
No,
arrest her. But they go back
Oh
to
my
the house. They turn off all the lights. They do a blackout, right?
Yeah.
And with the black light, they go to the kitchen.
All of a sudden,
And all of a sudden,
It looks like
it's fucking
stars.
glowing. Because what? There's blood
everywhere.
painted on the wall. Basically, there's everywhere. There's blood except on around the vent area. And he describes it as it being really clean, right?
But it's never clean.
But it's never clean. So he also says that
Like nobody
there's
noticed it
nails
except for him. I'm like,
in the brick.
oh yeah, like fingernails.
Fingernails. They discover
bone and everything.
They discover. He says that the bones have been cut with like 2 razor sharp
Insurgents,
teeth.
man.
Yeah, and then also he says that they find hair.
Just like they found on the dog.
Yes.
Well, we didn't say that too. That they found a dog in the refrigerator,
They found it. Yes.
disemboweled, and then they found these
disemboweled.
long hairs, and like, well, what could it have been? And I'm like, well,
And then they say it was ape.
it was an ape.
Ape-like hair.
It was
gorilla
hollow. The hair was
shirt.
hollow.
It was gorilla or ape, so some type.
But there's no fucking gorillas over there.
Yeah, and so you're like, okay,
Like,
well,
where
what
do
the
you get
fuck?
that from?
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right,
So
I'm
when
getting
they
mad.
interviewed the girl in the sanitarium, right? What does she say? She has that one line.
They're on the walls.
They're in the fucking walls, and you're like, oh shit, what's in the walls?
No, I'm like, I need to know. Tell me now.
What's in the walls?
Like that. They're in the walls. I'm like,
I don't know, but whatever it is, they're in the fucking walls. She's whispering this shit, and you're like, holy shit, there's walls everywhere.
Yeah, I'm like,
walls
they're everywhere.
everywhere.
Goddamn.
What is it? What's in those in the walls? What's
She
in your
doesn't
house?
supposedly say. That's all he says.
And-
They're in the walls.
They're in the walls. What if there's actual real people living in the walls? And
What do you mean?
cannibals. What the hell? You think about it. Right? You think about it. What if there's real people living in the walls and they're cannibals? I'll tell you this why.
How long-
this is
How long can you go?
This is something that they mention at the end,
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
it's about the cave that
Yeah.
they mention at the very end.
Yeah.
And you haven't listened to the fucking story. It's your fault, right?
Go back and listen to it. It's about
You need to
You need to listen
We
to it.
warned you.
It's on
We're gonna be
SoundCloud.
jumping around. I mean, I'm sorry. There's gonna be a lot of.
There's
what
a
do you call
gorilla,
it?
there's a cave, there's a...
There's gonna be a lot of unfortunate. I'm gonna tell you.
We're skipping around. That's all you gotta know.
And so
A lot of spoilers.
a lot of spoilers. So don't play this with it, because then you're fucked. But so she talks about these things that are in the walls. And then so it doesn't hit me till the very end, and I'm like, what if they're fucking these people that living in this cave and they're fucking cannibals? You know what I mean?
Well,
There's also the movie called The Cave. You should see it.
They said it was a monastery that burned down, right?
Yes.
What if it were the
And that they were disemboweling the
monks
people
that live in the walls because they live in the caves, and they never really were executed. Maybe some were executed.
They were. Some of them
ran and hid in the fucking caves and became these weird.
Well,
thing. I don't know.
Okay. Well, so let's from the sanitarium. So what happened?
So what happened? They did the interview. She says that they're in the walls.
So they go back to the house and they find all the blood and they get samples and blah 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 blah.
They get the colonel, and the colonel goes missing.
Wait, I know. No, the sergeant. It's a sergeant. The sergeant.
Right?
No, but see what happened. They find out when they were doing the investigation.
Right.
That she escapes the goddamn sanitarium.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, where did she go? I thought, she's locked up and she was doing better and she was, kind of talking to herself. So they thought she was doing well, according to the teacher guy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she's missing. And so he's telling us that there's border patrol, helicopters, cars looking for her.
There's a huge investigation. There's a research search party.
The devil in the details. It was like, he was talking to Guerrero, right?
Right.
The police dude. The teacher, he was saying like, "Well, hey man, didn't you know something? Like what? The air conditioning vent, right? That he was talking about. You don't think it was weird?" I'm like, "What do you mean, man?" I was like, "What do you mean weird?" It's like, they're like, "It's open and there's no blood around it, man." I'm like, all of a sudden, like he's the investigator. Like he's figuring all this shit out. Hey man, he's like punching people. Like, dude, look what the fuck is going on. It's like,
what is that?
Nobody noticed.
Active crime scene, right?
Yes. Right.
And why would he allow him in a crime scene? He's not an official.
Right.
So look, that
Yes.
would disturb me. He kept on being let in the house. I'm like, there's blood everywhere. They wouldn't let somebody
What
like
if
that.
he was the killer? Right.
I have something about that.
He
No,
flee to Arizona.
I have something about that, but not until the end.
All right.
Until then.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell us. Hoffman?
I got
you
some. Yeah.
What's your...
I'm getting a little suspicious.
I did a little bit of research about kids killing their parents in Texas.
Okay.
Is that a high volume in that?
There's a
1 out of 3.
This is another corner in the Texas stories. Continue on.
Oh yeah.
It's called the Arkansas Roadhouse outside of Arlington.
Okay.
So the house was built in the early 1940s, which would be similar to not technically the same style, but older house. The whole around it was a ranch where the family lived. The murder happened in the 60s or early 70s, and there's 2 stories behind it. One, and I'm sorry to say this, this is the way it's written in here, that the family had a mentally underdeveloped son.
Okay.
All right.
That they kept in the cellar.
Oh
that's
no.
Messed up.
But
I mean, that's the time frame.
but not abusively is what they say.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Kind of just.
He lived down there, and had access to every room. He could go to the bathroom. He had free range.
Yeah, free range. Yeah.
But they had a large walk-in freezer. Right.
Because they live in a ranch.
Yeah. Of course, they're gonna kill something. They're gonna freeze it, put it away.
Cut it apart.
Sure, let's go with that.
Wait. Let's see.
Okay.
No, yeah, don't go ahead.
Apparently, one day he either lost it, got angry, and ended up killing his parents.
Oh man.
And then he kept them in the freezer.
Oh shit!
Damn.
He regretted it.
Like Kyle, like parents.
Regrets.
And he eventually died himself. And the second story is that the kid that they actually lived there wasn't retarded, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And after his parents died of natural causes, he was said to be a pedophile and a child murderer.
Damn.
So it led to like more deaths around that area.
Jesus.
That he would kill children and hide their bodies in the freezer.
Oh man.
So I mean, Ed could have been like, you may have heard of this and been like, you know what? I'm teaching. I can probably use this to scare the kids.
In Texas?
Yeah, in Texas. And then eventually when he moved to Arizona, he started retelling the story over and over.
Yeah, you're in Arizona, like away from where it supposedly happened. Yeah. So it's easier for him. It's like almost like even if the story is fake, it's like, well, that was in Texas, so you go to Texas to find out. I'm here in Arizona.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
And then the end of this is the house was still standing in 2005, so a family went in and bought it, started renovating it, putting new shingles on it, and then 2 to 3 weeks into the construction, it just stopped.
Yeah.
Family went missing and the house burned down.
Coincidence.
Okay.
I mean, again, Texas, man.
Things happen, man.
It's starting to sound like Florida.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, what's going on in Texas? This is Texas.
Well.
So here's the other thing.
Okay.
Right?
So
now we go back to the story of Kim. They talk about they do mention that the house is somehow all of a sudden is built on this place where these monks got executed.
Well,
coincidentally, right? Oh, what are the odds of that?
So you got something? Because I got some.
I was trying to find stuff out about him because I'm like, well, if anything is real, it's this guy, right? Like he's a real person.
He's a real person.
Yeah.
So, at least I think it's Ed Hermanski.
Hermanski. Yeah.
So, I found his current teacher listing, I guess.
Oh yeah.
In the Hamilton High School directory in Arizona.
Oh.
I wanted to see what he teaches because I was like, what if he teaches theater or
English,
creative writing or something like that.
Creative writing, that best.
What does he teach?
It doesn't say what he teaches actually, but he has a bachelor's degree in history.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Master's degree in secondary education with a psychology emphasis.
Damn. Well, see, man, he's mind controlling people, man.
Mind fucking people.
That's what he's mind fucking people.
So there you go. And then he worked 20 years in the business sector before becoming a teacher. So maybe he's really good at PR.
For sure.
He's a salesman.
He's a salesman.
With
he's
snake
oil.
He's
a salesman.
But see here. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. So where I'm getting from, so she escapes, right?
Right.
They go to the house, or they put her in the sanitarium. They do their little investigation. They find blood and blah 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 blah.
Right.
And
they talk about the monks.
And all of a sudden, hold on. That's probably a little later.
No, it happens right where the kitchen.
No, but they find her before they say the monks. They find.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So this fucking dude's crawling in the air conditioning vent,
right?
And supposedly, Mr. Guerrero gives him a pen, right, like a flashlight looking pen. Yeah, and it goes out. He goes into the air conditioning vent, yes. And so the light goes, and he even says it had brand new batteries. So just to give you maybe a spookier feel, it's not gonna go out, right? It's not gonna go out, and it goes out. It fucking goes out. He's like, son of a bitch, right? So and you're gonna see the fattest man, the fastest man trying to get the hell out of there.
Supposedly but he goes in there.
He goes further down.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, here we go, bro. So
all of a sudden, and so he's in the shed of it. That's what you're doing.
And he takes a right, and he's like, and then he's like, and it's like, I see 2 feet. I'm like, what do you mean 2 feet? Like, yeah, man. And I wasn't scared at all, so I kept on going.
What do you mean you were scared?
And then I see a light, and it's a candle. And it's Kimberly. I'm like, Kimberly, what are you doing there? What the fuck are you doing there? And all of a sudden, he finds her there. Yeah. He happened to just...
the ventilation system.
And so they take her ass out.
Yeah.
And I think they take her back to the sanitarium.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They do.
And I'm like, okay. So, and then that's where they get the sergeant. Like, don't you have somebody that they're going to investigate, paranormal shit? Okay.
And that's when they stay over. And what happens when they stay over, Hoffman?
They hear, the sergeant?
Yes, the sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
Hears something in the night.
He wakes up the teacher.
Says, hey, I'm going to go check this out. And he's like, well, I'm just going to go back to sleep.
No, but that's what he said. No, he says, he says that, but hey, man, let me go with her. No, I got to go by myself. I'm like, come on, bro.
He's like, I got this.
I got this.
Wake up.
Scared.
It's a little girl.
Wake up the sheriff. Like, no, you leave him asleep. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like,
that's not plausible.
Wasn't that the reason that they were there to find all of them together collectively?
People died.
So tell him what happened to the sergeant.
He just goes missing.
Yeah, that's it. And then he casually goes on in the story.
Never seen again.
I'm like, he left the wife.
He's never seen again.
He left the wife and 2 kids. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, who are the kids and what happened? I'm like, what the fuck?
Where's the missing person recording, man?
Yeah.
So but then
wouldn't they stop the investigation there and try to look for the sergeant?
He goes and says 6 years later, the Unsolved Mysteries comes into town and looks into the missing sergeant.
We couldn't find it.
I looked it up. I could not find. There was an unsolved mystery in El Paso about a couple that go missing.
I'm admitting that,
but nothing about an officer.
That's some horse
I think
shit.
he just got inspired by a lot of things. Because right now
I
was trying to look into monks. Right. It's all spoilers, alright. This whole thing is spoilers.
No, okay, so the sergeant goes missing.
Right.
He's just casually going through the story. I'm like, dude, what the fuck just happened to the sergeant? Like, just like that, and they don't do the investigation. Like he left the wife and 2 kids. That's
like, oh well.
Did the police department do a search and rescue?
I gotta say, it's Fabens.
It's fucked up.
Their police department is like. They rely more on like.
You're gonna let one of your own die? You probably know.
Hoffman did some heavy research in Fabians, and apparently he got familiar with some of that area.
No, okay, so the sergeant goes missing.
Right.
And he's like, fuck this shit. We're gonna charge her with murder.
Yeah, but then they ask. So they tell the lawyer, I guess, of Kimberly, has this meeting. Him and the sergeant have a meeting with the lawyer.
Yeah.
The lawyer thinks it's weird, so then they say,
how do we prove it, man?
How do we prove it? Hey, maybe let's take her out of prison and put her in this house and let's put video everywhere. Let's record.
Well, that's where they found out that him and the not the sergeant, but his friend Guerrero,
right?
That he had 2 maps. It's like I think something's wrong. It's like there used to be a monastery somewhere in Fabin, so he gets the police guy gets a contemporary map of the region, and then all of a sudden, like fucking
Ed
Hermanski has a book. I don't know. Spoiler.
I don't think there's a Kinko's out there.
I don't know.
There's
Somehow,
nothing.
He managed to blow this map up.
Both of them.
Transparency.
Both of them.
I was like, where'd you?
Somehow he
blew up the map. I'm like, where'd you? Did you use a printing machine? Like, give me some of the details. So no. Anyways, he cut that shit out. He puts the maps together. And the sergeant's like, look at this shit. So he gets a knife and like pokes a hole right through the house, right? The contemporary map. I'm like, oh my, this guy. And he's like, you know what, man? That's where the monster is, right underneath that fucking house. Boom!
This guy's doing a movie pitch, man.
It is a movie pitch.
And so that's where he gets that's where, like, you know what, man? We gotta like prove that there's no parent. And he always says, right, I don't believe in the paranormal, and I still don't. I'm like, dude, cut that shit out.
After everything that's happened,
I'm like, cut. And he said it the whole story. I'm like, cut that shit out.
Yeah, if he said at the end, like, now I believe, I'd be like, okay, maybe you went through some shit, right? But like,
here's the other thing.
I don't know, man.
Who the fuck is the detective that's scared to go into the dark area
with the gun? He's like, no, you go.
I don't know.
He's not scared of anything, but he's scared of ghosts. I'm like,
I'm gonna say Narcos.
Like what?
Well, so
So then what happens?
So they set up the cameras.
Yeah.
And I guess like they have round clock police officers just monitoring the house for a week, right? They let her stay in the house for a week before she's gonna go into trial,
right? And
be apparently like convicted for murder, and
but like as bait, she's basically in there as bait.
Well, that's
trying
it.
To get evidence for whatever's coming at her.
Yeah. And so they let her stay in the room.
And they also, apparently, the police department let Ed fucking stroll around. Like
that didn't make sense to me. I watched.
He was a teacher.
I know. But that's what I'm saying.
He's a teacher. Like,
he's a teacher at this point.
Did you wear gloves? You know, what kind of shoes did you have? You might as well have clown shoes on. Because
just walking around contaminating
with muddy shoes. I'm just going to walk anywhere. Cover all that shit up.
Hey, it's cool. Look, I don't know what kind of... If this story, he claims to be true... I don't know what kind of Mickey Mouse operation
there's
running, but it's one hell of an operation.
It's a shitty operation.
I can see it happening, actually.
I feel like y'all are just really mad because you started to believe the story, and then you're like, this is bullshit.
They just invite him to the house over and over again. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll go. Like, there's He's not apprehensive about anything. Well,
it's cool.
So what happens? So they set up the cameras,
right?
And they decide, like, hey man, let's give the guys in the truck a break, right? All of a sudden, being like a homeboy, I'm like,
bring some coffee.
Hey, y'all take a few hours out of your shit. Let us.
We got this.
We got this. I'm like, dude, that's a freaking movie, man. A bad movie at that. Bad movie. And so,
it's one of the worst buddy cop movies I've ever heard. One of the guys is not even a cop.
The Notebook.
The Notebook.
Oh yeah. So she's in the room, right? And they got like cameras everywhere. They're supposedly black and white cameras. Whatever. They're not in color. That's what he said. Not in color. Right. And I was like, okay, so these dudes have been in. The dudes who were there before Guerrero and Hermanski.
Right.
They've been there for a few hours, maybe a few days, and have like a notebook written. Like, hey man, so like, don't they have anything written? Like, he's asking the right questions, like just conveniently asking, like, just letting the story flow on easily. And so like, yeah, they have a notebook here, and they write notes and all that. And so like, okay, well, let's read some of it. And so they find a note where she's petting a dog beneath the bed, like that. Yeah. And it's like,
she doesn't have a dog.
She doesn't have a dog. I was like, well, no,
dog's fucking dead.
The dog's dead. And I'm like, no, but that's what they wrote. Like, okay, well, can you? He's actually in Guerrero. Well, can you backtrack from the tape to see if that's true?
Yeah.
And okay, well, I guess they have. I don't know when.
The sergeant all of a sudden becomes an editor.
Like, he knows electrical engineering and shit. I'm like, god damn.
This guy's a maverick.
This is a maverick.
They reverse the tape. And they find the point where they wrote the notes.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, look at her, man. So her,
they
like...
slowed it down.
Yeah, like... And so they see her hand just, like, dangling from the bed. It's like, oh, yeah, man, look at that dog. And I'm like, oh, that's a weird dog. And it's like, what do you mean?
It's not a dog.
I'm like, you see, like, he's... whatever, dude. And he's like, that's not a dog. What do you mean, man? Like, you can tell by the eyes. It looks like human eyes. Well, no, man, he's licking her. It's like, it's not licking her, man. That tongue's wrapping around her arm. And that tongue's real long and narrow. So I'm like...
So those other detectives are really bad at observation.
Dude, that's an anomaly. Like, you couldn't you distinguish what was going on?
Maybe they were just tired, man.
Maybe. I mean, I guess.
How boring is it watching a little... it's going to sound boring.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they're just sitting there in the van watching this video of nothing happening in the house.
It's hot out there.
Yeah, Texas, hot as fuck, right?
Well, then what happens after... What happens after, like, they find out, like, the dog scene?
So, I mean, they start...
And that she starts looking in the camera.
She starts looking at the camera.
Like, no, that's impossible, man. The camera's small. It's like, but she's looking at the camera. She's like that, real freaky, like. Yeah. And then you hear like a.
No, and then she goes missing.
The camera stops.
Like
yeah, it stops.
Like a still frame.
And so then what happens? So what does Ed do?
No, well, all of a sudden they hear a boom, like it moves 2 feet. I'm like,
she's in the fucking van.
She's in the van.
Yeah, like, most importantly.
Oh, what the fuck? And the police, Guerrero's looking, he's like, hey man. I was like, what's going on? He's like,
who would honestly stay in that van?
At this point, I'm punching Guerrero and running past them.
No. So
they're outside though,
Hermanski
right?
is looking at the camera while the Guerrero opens because they thought they got hit from a car. So he opens up the truck or the van or whatever car they had. And he's looking inside, and then he's like, he looks back, he's like, hey, Guerrero, what's going on? And he doesn't say anything. Guerrero, what's going on? He's like, hey man, Kimberly's in there. I'm like, what do you mean? And she starts attacking Hermanski, like biting him.
He gets bitten,
like chunks of meat coming out from his arm and his hand and everything. He's like, how the fuck did you get in, man?
And he has a scar from it
because he has an alleged scar.
This is a really cool way to explain your scar, though. Like, like it could be anything.
I think he was hungry and he just ate his own hand, bro.
Self cannibalism, like
it's a self cannibalism.
So you said you were missing a chunk of your hand, but that's only a small baby cut.
And it took both of them to like put her down.
Right.
She seemed like a snake.
Well, they didn't put her down. But
tie her up. They didn't put. To tackle her and to strap her down.
They wrestled with her for a while.
Very dramatically.
Very dramatic, and I guess that's when.
So you know what? We're gonna
apparently at some point.
And take her ass back.
Backup happens to arrive at the right moment. I'm just saying, fucking backup.
Who called it in?
I know.
No,
what point was it called in? And how would
you be able to handcuff
her or zip tie her?
They send her ass back to the police station, right? Like her ass is going.
After they struggled.
Oh, then all of a sudden, like, well, now she's like, she gets convicted real quick,
Right.
like non-dramatic. They sent her ass to the
No evidence.
No evidence.
No evidence.
Like, they didn't, like, what happened to the skull?
This is Texas.
And what happened to the bodies? Did they find out exactly what those incisions in the bone?
Did anybody do DNA tests?
Nothing. God damn it! See, that's a
Or
problem.
even her parents?
This is what, the 90s? Like, they had
They had everything, man. I
They
watched
had-
Forensic
Yeah,
Files.
Yes.
Forensic Files said
Early
They did
90s.
DNA tests, yeah.
I mean, the earliest that I see this is in 2003, so that's the first telling that I found.
There you go.
that's they still had the technology, man.
Yeah.
Computers were, I guess, sophisticated enough. They had storage of
They
data
would've-
and whatever.
I don't know.
And what about fingerprints?
Her lawyer would have
What the
gone
guy-
back for fingerprints.
And like
and
anything
shit.
else.
I think we would have found a little bit more information
So-
if it was that recent, though.
Wasn't National Geographic involved too? With
Also,
the
National
cave,
Geographic-
supposedly.
because of the cave, yeah. And
Oh.
the officer going missing.
So you know what happens after that? So they sent her ass back, but then they wanted to go back where the bed was because they were like, well, that's a funny looking dog, and so they go back, Hermanski and Guerrero, right?
Yeah.
And so they go up and it's like, you know what? I don't. The police officer, right? Like, I don't want to go there anymore. Yeah, it's done and we're
It's
done with
over.
this investigation. I was like, no, man, look, we got to go one more time and start investigating it. Just one more time. And so, okay, well, we'll go during the day. And, and they happen to say they were golfing, but like, fuck off, man. Let's just go investigate it. I don't know how he's let in the house again. Like, wouldn't they block it off already?
This is his wife.
Yeah, I don't know.
We hear about her in the end, but
So they look under the bed and, no, you do it. No, you do it. No, so whatever. So Hermanski looks under the bed. Hey, man, see, there's nothing there. There's really nothing there. They move the bed and whatever. All of a sudden, they see that there's a wall that's next to the bed. And you're like, hey, man, this is a weird looking kind of wall. Why? It's like, because those bricks, there's no motor on the bricks. It's basically you can piece these bricks out.
Yeah.
Like they're just loose it's like a loose wall.
This loose wall, yeah.
And I don't know what that's where I don't get where it's kind of like there's something missing there. But all of a sudden they start investigating the wall. They break the wall open, apparently, right?
Right.
And Hermanski finds a pen.
Yeah, there you go.
Finds a pen. This is
Oh, yeah.
the wall's still there, but he finds a pen like after the wall was taken out. It's like, hey, man, look at this, man. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, I found a pen. Oh, we find pens all the time. He finds a pen, and the pen is also from the name of the police department. Fabian Police Department. It's like, look at this, man. And so they get some suspicion that the sergeant who went missing, that's probably his pen. And so I think they go down and leads towards the first floor.
Right.
And I guess they find like a big ass hole/cave. And it's like, oh, well, I ain't going down there, man. I was like, no, we got to go down there, man. Like, he could be down there. Well, it's like, don't you know somebody? He knows somebody. He knows a person for every situation. That's like...
I got a friend.
I have a friend.
Let me call him real quick.
I get it.
They find another homeboy. It's like, hey, Sasuke, we need you to go... we got...
Probably. His last name's Guerrero.
Guerrero.
It means you know what?
That means you know what.
Hey, you know what?
You know what, man? We
better
have
Spanish.
we have a job for you. It pays a lot of money, but you're gonna have to go down. You're gonna have to.
We drug trafficking.
So what is it? So they find his friend. I don't know the dude's name, but like he's supposedly like he's into rock climbing, or he's like
A spelunker.
a what?
A spelunker.
A spelunker?
Yeah, that's people that go into a cave and like.
Oh, okay. Well, they find that pronoun guy.
That's a weird term.
That's a weird name, yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I heard it before, but I was like, what?
So then what happens when they go down?
Oh, so like so he starts describing the rope. Like, hey, man, it's color coded, so every 50 feet it turns a different color, right? So they know how far that dude's going down.
Yeah.
And so they tie him up with the rope and they're releasing him down. He's going towards the cave. I don't know how far. He said like 200 feet or something.
Yeah.
He's going down a couple 50 feet increments.
Yeah.
So he's there 150 feet, 200 feet down. And they shimmy him down, and all of a sudden they don't feel any weight on the rope.
Oh shit! What happened?
And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you. Let me tell you." Hermanski, right? He's telling the story. He's like, "Hey, man, there's slack on the rope. I because you can feel a person, right? 180 pounds. You're gonna feel that.
Yeah. And but how do you not know when the fucking rope went light, too?
And then he killed his friend.
Wait, what the fuck? Go. I guess. Like, so, like, he's talking, Johnny. He's like, what, man? It's like, I don't feel like there's slack on the rope. What do you mean? I'm like, yeah, like, we're tugging it. And it's loose. I'm like, oh shit, well, man, something's going on. Let's pull him up. I'm like, motherfucker's not on the rope anymore. Pull him up. Pull up air. You're gonna pull up air.
What if he like unhooked and started walking around and they just took the rope?
Okay, well then.
Yeah, he stuck there forever.
Let me tell you. Let me confirm or disconfirm if he disengaged himself from the rope.
Right.
I'll confirm it or not.
That's his fault. Like, why did you do that?
Johnny, man, it's like the rope, man. It's got slack and shit, man. Was like, where, and what's the dude's name? He doesn't have a name, right? He's like unknown.
Some unknown guy, yeah.
Unknown Texan,
he
right?
He doesn't.
That's his name.
Yeah, some unknown Texas guy.
Unknown Texas guy. Unknown Texas guy is supposedly still on the rope, but they have a lot of slack, and so they're like, where did unknown Texas guy go, man? So you gotta pull him up, man. Something's going on. He gets all crazy. Pull him up. So they pull him up. They pull up the whole rope. You know what they found on the rope, man?
What did they find?
Fucking blood, man. All over the goddamn road. Like, what the fuck happened to the unknown Texas guy?
There's no barbecue sauce.
They don't eat barbecue.
What if he was like, it's Texas, man?
No, unknown Texas guy. There's no description of
What
it.
if he took a break?
He had a sandwich. He had a
brisket sandwich.
A sliced brisket sandwich with some onions from Rudy's. Some sissy sauce on it. And so they find out that there's blood on the rope. And so you know what? And then you know what the fuck, man? And that's it. They don't even investigate that shit. Like, where's the FBI, bro?
I'm gonna see a person report.
You don't think the FBI would be involved? Like,
at this point, I mean,
it's almost cross state lines, bro.
Here's the thing. At this point, those two guys should be looked at as possible murders of these two individuals that went missing.
The sergeant and unknown Texas guy.
No, but we're looking at freaking Kimberly
and
like.
Then nobody fucking like tests the rope of like the blood. He doesn't mention that.
No, it doesn't.
If it was his or
at this point, Kimberly is in the insane asylum, right?
Still in the same asylum.
No. She's in prison. She's already convicted at that point.
Yeah.
They booked her ass for murder and she's done.
Yeah.
At that point. At that point in the story.
At that point. So then, what happens after they conveniently derail the guy and kill their friend?
Oh, so what happened?
Call him Steve.
Okay.
Officially, Steve.
Steve. Unofficially. So so they get creeped out, and then at that point they get frustrated. Supposedly, you know what, man? This is it. We're not going back to the house. So I guess they got contractors. We're gonna demolish the house, and it'll be the end of all.
And then they had the cave sealed.
Well, see, they removed the house. And then they find that there's a natural cave there.
Right.
And they have investigators, and you got Nat Geo and the BBC and everything. Yeah. And it's supposedly they did stories on that. Maybe we can do a follow-up.
Yeah.
To see if that's true. But they're like, hey, man. And supposedly the stories from BBC and Nat Geo is like, yeah, man, you can hear noises. And you can hear all kinds of sounds. But they didn't elaborate. What was the extent of their investigation, right? And so they seal it off for good, I guess, with concrete, never to be infiltrated ever since.
Right.
And
which is weird because it's hard to get a cave or any natural formation sealed like that.
Yeah, they put a lid on it.
Unless it's a mine
or it's a private property
or private property.
I think they just sealed it. They sealed it with like metal or whatever.
You would think that they would try making it into like a national park or something.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They did with Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico.
Oh, so I guess what happens, like, so they send Kimberly to prison, but she requests that she wants a cellie, right? Like a cellmate.
Yeah.
To accompany her in her whatever, dude, her life sentence, man, whatever they give her. That they didn't say how long she got.
Yeah, they didn't say at all.
But that she specifically requested somebody as a cellie to be in her cell. And
after a while, right? Cause
she was lonely or whatever. Yeah. She's eating, she's talking to herself. I don't know.
They say, all right, let's do that.
And so they find out, though. How was it? Like one night.
They went to go check.
And there's only
first night that she had
first night.
And they found out there's only one person in there.
Like, what the fuck?
Like, what the fuck happened to the other person? Oh, and it's not Kimberly.
And it's not Kimberly.
It's not Kimberly. It's the fucking. It's a celly disemboweled with
completely
incisions, laser-like incisions,
yeah,
and like disemboweled and everything. I'm like, what the fuck happened? Where's the other one? And they find like a loose brick from the bottom that went all the way down to, like if it was from the inside out, from the
outside in,
the outside in,
yeah.
like it came from the wall.
System.
Like, and she disappeared.
Yeah,
and they find a dead body there. I'm like, what the fuck? And so, somebody can leave from there. So
then they also find a hair. Also,
long just weird hair.
The gorilla hair, man.
Yeah, they found that.
Get it right, bro.
Mysterious gorilla hair out of nowhere, right? Like where. I'm like, at this point, is this Bigfoot? I mean, Bigfoot going through walls and shit, living in caves. I mean,
he never concluded.
Like he's that nimble.
Yeah,
they never like put the pieces together from the hair samples.
And I mean, at this point, he continues
like
on
with his own
story.
life.
And so he talks to somebody, and this other person tells him about the chupacabra. Which is like, wait, what?
No, not even close.
Yeah,
Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
he like a priest comes up to him, like, I heard about your story and I want to listen to it. Yeah. Like when you do your next presentation, I want to come and visit you so I can hear it.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is this priest coming from?
Like what?
The like unknown priest guy.
An unknown priest, right?
Unknown priest like calls him all of a sudden. I want like why priest though? Yeah. Like what's his
the priest?
Why is he entertaining the idea?
Is he a real priest?
It's a setup. There you go. That's perfect.
So he then talks to this individual with this chupacabras that it could be this thing
like the devil
from Mexico, which is apparently a devil-like worker.
They work for the devil, and
which is not even accurate. Which this shit comes from Puerto Rico. Which actually in Puerto Rico they didn't even think it was like a demon or anything. They thought it was some kind of fucking alien creature.
It was an experiment.
Yeah. And so
he concludes that it's a chupacabra, dude.
And somebody and on the side of all this going on, somebody keeps calling him. Somebody keeps calling him.
They're in the walls. Like what would you say? They're in the walls. Where? Bye. And then just hangs up, and so but that's where it gets like very anomalous, right?
Right.
It gets very gray.
He starts teaching at the Arizona school, and every single time they would come to the classroom, one desk would be turned around.
We found a kid in there. Like, hey, who are you? And she's turned behind, like, she's facing like her back is facing him. Like, who are you? And he turns around, and she's not there anymore. And then from then on,
who the fuck turns around and then she's not there anymore? You keep an eye on that fucking.
I know, right? I would not turn my back on that.
What if that person has like a knife or something?
He thought it was a fucking janitor. I was like, hey, don't mess around, man. I'm like, I just mop floors, man. Leave me alone.
My name's Jose.
Me llamo Jose. Nomás aquí limpiándole el piso. I'm like, what? Okay, anyways, go hop in.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty fucking weird.
And then it culminates in they're having that overnight stay at the school.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then there's like a power outage.
The lights go out
when the teachers or the kids are.
Say the story.
Tell the story about Kimberly. Tell us the story.
All right.
Hey.
Boom! Like a big. There's rabid dogs everywhere.
Meanwhile, his wife is pissed that every time he keeps telling this fucking story, the fucking vent keeps opening up. Like once.
No, and he's also talking in his sleep,
house.
like saying some string language. Like he's just talking to himself.
He's conversing with somebody.
Yeah, he's conversing. They're like, I don't know what you're saying, but I don't like it.
I don't know about you guys, but I've had like people that like my mom does it when she sleeps.
Oh my god!
She'll have like a conversation.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
She'll even like.
Shit. Like that?
It's creepy, man.
No.
She just starts laughing.
Yeah, she'll like laugh or she'll like make little noises, and you're just like.
I once when I visited my grandma, I was sleeping in the same room she was in, and all of a sudden she's having a full blown conversation. I get up and I'm like, who the fuck is she talking to? I look around, there's nobody there, and then at some point she starts screaming like, whatever the fuck she's talking about.
Damn.
Which is like the fucking scariest thing you can think of. Like all of a sudden you're hearing somebody in their sleep conversation, and it's not like you could tell that it's an actual conversation. You're just not hearing the other person. It's fucking creepy.
Oh no.
And this happened. So while I was vacationing at my grandma's house, this kept happening.
Shit.
And I was losing sleep.
Was it the same conversation over and over again?
Kinda, yeah.
Like,
Kinda,
was it like...
It wasn't the same...
Like
it was same context.
Yeah.
Same context.
Something was bothering her. She didn't want you there, man.
She had something on her mind. I know, she's yelling at you in her sleep.
Had something in her mind, but she's talking to somebody. It's the same context in the way that she's retelling what she did in her day.
Oh.
So it's different, but it's the same context. It's her day that she's telling somebody.
How many people does she yell at a day?
Oh, my grandma just yells at everybody. Hey, grandmas, you know what I mean? But it's fucking weird.
Yeah. God damn. Well.
Wait, the whole power outage thing.
Okay,
yeah. Power, so then.
Yeah. So.
What happened?
He calls the power company.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
And they just like inform you about these
Mr.
things?
Investigator.
Hey, Bob!
By any chance, did he record any power outages?
No.
Huh? Well, what about at
my house?
This address.
Yeah. Oh, Ed! Yeah!
Yeah, of course.
How's it going, Ed?
Yeah.
How's the family?
How's Kimberly?
Shit happens like this all the time. I'm like, what? Only his house, bro.
Only his house.
Do they really record that?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, like, they'll do neighborhoods.
I feel like they might know, but would they just like divulge that to whoever calls?
They wouldn't give it to anybody.
Can I call and be like, can you give me the history of power outages at my house?
Give the information. Let me call my local company and see what information they can get. Nothing. Not a damn thing. I don't know.
How does he have all these point of contacts, bro?
They have really good customer service.
Didn't he have another one with a phone call too, where they said, "Oh, you didn't get a call"?
Oh yeah, yes.
After the one of the weird
Who's been
calls.
calling me, man?
Who's been calling? This is the phone company. Yeah, the phone company's not gonna give you that information. They won't even tell you your own information. They won't even tell you your account.
Oh, what happened? What does the phone company say to Hermanski?
Yeah.
That there was no call, like, cause he got one of those weird like silence or like almost like that hissing.
Yeah, he's getting frustrated at this point.
But apparently, when he's getting these calls, there's no actual call being recorded, right?
There's no
like the phone company is like, no, you didn't just get a call. Like I guess he's trying to figure out who's calling, but they not only tell him who's calling, but they're like, nobody called.
Like at all.
Like it's not happening.
You're not talking to anyone.
You're losing your shit, man. Like we don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, right.
What if
I'm not
he's
even real.
schizophrenic?
Yeah.
And he's like hearing things.
He's not even married.
Doesn't have a wife.
It's like what?
He never talks about it until the very end.
Yeah.
With a freaking vent starts opening up.
Yeah. Which is like the added little creep thing at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so at that point, so I guess
he talks about his surgery that he had in his hand. I mean,
stitches and
whatever. It shows that he has proof. I mean,
you could have gotten that anywhere.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I have.
Well, so what happens? So this is like almost towards the end of his story, right? Because then he goes on. He goes on, right? Like he's like on a bike or he's going on a vacation with the Guerrero, right? Oh, and then he finds that biker chick. Like she's there on the side and her bike's...
Oh, yeah. They're on some kind of road trip of some sort.
Yeah.
And they pulled over to assist.
They was like, hey man, there's that chick. The biker girl. What's he find out?
Oh, I don't remember.
I find out what's going on. I know what's going on, bro.
Oh, and then she claims to know his wife, right?
What's your name? Like, Kimberly. I'm like, Kimberly. That's another...
They work at the same bank or something, right?
She supposedly knew... His wife and where she worked. So he called his wife. I'm like, hey, do you know this person? She claims that she works with you. She like, goes through the database and like,
can't figure out who it is.
Like, we don't know who it is. Like, I don't know who the fuck that is. Kimberly something.
And there's nobody by that name.
There's nobody by that name.
Never has been.
Never has been either. And so...
Dun, dun, dun.
And then that's it.
That's it.
And then...
the fuck?
Motherfucker remains at large.
Yeah, they haven't caught her.
They haven't caught
her, allegedly. I haven't. But here's the thing. Now he's in talks, apparently, with some movie company that might, produce his story as a film.
I don't know, but I don't know.
What do you think, Hakan? What's your opinion on this story?
Mole people.
Mole
people. They describe a cave right underneath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Two sharp teeth. Like just like a mole. They're sort of hairy.
Right.
Sure.
The people going to caves. The cannibals. Clearly cannibals.
That could be. I mean, hey man, I don't disagree.
They're from the center of the earth.
Center of the earth.
I don't disagree with it. No.
That's logic.
That's pretty logical based on the evidence.
Sorry, no explanation. I can't.
Pandora?
I don't believe it.
You don't believe it?
None of it.
It's,
Yeah, I feel like
it's
it.
bullshit, right?
Like it starts off good, and then like you said, it's like you just know how to like really end the story. Or
yeah, there's
the only real thing is like, okay, the guy telling the story is a real person.
Right.
Other than that, like, can y'all find anything that's real that you can say, okay, that was in the story and it was
Johnny Guerrero?
People who supposedly know Ed, that are close and personal with him, have gone on and claimed that he changed details of the story. And I found forums and
embellishments.
That he changed details of the story.
Chinga, man.
And information for anonymity.
Well, supposedly, do you believe that? Do you believe
anonymity,
that? Based on.
I mean, okay, it wouldn't be the first time somebody recounts something that actually happened that changed settings. Completely.
They do that in forensic files. They change certain, just for names, anonymity and all that.
City, change a lot of the description.
But the crux of the story may be true.
Yes.
Oh, it is true.
And the very core of the story remains true.
What do you think about that?
But here's the thing. He never says that. Like, as far as this recording, the recording we heard, it never said that. It never does it say that this is something that occurred, right? Or that, hey, look, I've changed some details to, protect the individuals that are involved in the story.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to go to my Facebook and find my friends and look people up and ask them tons of questions and harass people and stuff like that. Which I understand. Now we live in the social media world, right?
Yeah.
So, but we don't get that, right? It could have been cut out. It could have been lost. It could have been something he told the audience. Or at some point, he just left that off completely and just remained telling the story how it is.
There's just so many holes, man.
There's so many holes in this story.
Holes?
Holes in the story.
Yeah.
Holes.
Plot holes.
Well, he was perverted, so
plot hose.
That could have been. But
it's like when you have a plot, you just throw a hoe in there.
Bazing. There you go.
There's a lot of important information that's definitely been altered. So it's unfortunately it's one of those things.
Okay.
Sai, what do you think?
I want to believe, man.
I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah.
No,
You're gonna get a phone call. It's gonna be like, "Do you believe?"
In his White House, he's like, "Do you want to believe?" I'm like, "I don't want to believe." No, for what I think, man, I think after the way he comes out charismatic, right?
Right.
Like he's got that certain personality where I just like, man. I think it's too. It's.
I could have a beer with him.
Yeah.
It'll be cool, man. Tell me some cool stories. I don't know. To me, he, if the middle is like fairly believable, he's 30%. Like he's just. I think at certain point of the story, like towards the end, like he kind of lost me. Some of the details are just discrepant. Like what happened to the sergeant? What happened to the dude that was going down the cave?
Why did you leave him?
Like, why'd you leave him? What happened to your wife?
Why didn't you call the fire department or somebody?
Why did they typical police investigations? You're not gonna let a pedestrian, a citizen, just walk into a crime scene. There's blood everywhere, man. You're gonna contaminate the shit out of the house.
Yeah, that's not allowed.
But he's supposedly he was able to go in freely, and I didn't like that part, so I think it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
That's it. So I think
he doesn't say that he was sworn in as a temporary deputy.
No.
He was just
they just like, hey man, we're going in the house. You want to sleep over? Like, why are you sleeping over the house? Like, wouldn't they close it already?
Like the only thing he had was that he was this kid's like mentor, but like he didn't even like call the counselor's office.
Mentor, and he didn't even know the kid very well.
Like a week after her not showing up, he's like, "Hey, this kid hasn't come to class." Like he's obviously not that involved in her life.
Yeah,
no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, oh, the kid's been missing. Wouldn't you like be more concerned about where they were?
Like truancy, man. Like
you're specifically assisted. With the child. Like it's almost like
again, you're a mentor.
You're 1-on-1. You're a team. You're
making sure the kids
your buddies, man.
Trouble,
especially like a little kid, like
exactly.
You'll be overly concerned.
That's what a mentor does.
But he didn't come out across like that, and I at this point, I believe a lot of things. I don't believe him.
Yeah.
Sorry to say. This time, Sai doesn't believe.
That's a first.
I'm very disappointed.
Well, this concludes our Halloween special, and tune in for part 2. We'll be having that a couple days after this gets uploaded. And again, if you have any opinions or any thoughts, hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. And tune in for part 2. We'll have more stories to go, and hopefully you enjoy your Halloween.
Be safe out there.
Yeah, be safe. Watch out with the candy.